Thank you.
Hello, everyone. This is my beautiful mother.
This is my beautiful daughter.
Who are you?
I'm Karla. What maiden name was Magadini? I'm Italian, but I'm now Karla Jean Hahn.
What's that like?
No.
How many kids do you have?
Well, we have 9 children and 2 that we lost to miscarriage. So we have 7 adult children.
What was it like naming 7 children?
Oh, it was a blast. It was great.
When you started having kids.
Yes. I love when you said that. When you started, because we knew it didn't end for a while.
Was there a number in mind of how many you wanted?
No.
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 Did you grow up thinking about being a mom?
Not when I was younger, but as I...
What do you mean by younger?
Like when I was like 10, 12, I wasn't like, oh, I'm playing like house or something. It wasn't like that. But as I got older...
How old?
I would say maybe by the time I was in college and I was obviously engaged and thinking about what that would look like, our life together. And I always loved children. I always loved like working with kids. I helped with our church had what's called Vacation Bible School, and I would always like sign up and be so excited to work with the little kiddos for a week.
When you were, how old were you doing
like
that?
in high school.
High school, okay.
Yeah, yeah.
So you enjoyed being around kids, but it wasn't until you were like engaged that you thought about being a mother?
Correct, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it wasn't like, oh, I can't wait to like have babies. It wasn't like that.
If you had to sum up your belief system in a few sentences, what would you say?
I think my belief system in a nutshell would be that Jesus is God and that he is the way, the truth, and the life. And the Word of God is the Word of God, and that's the rock that I try to build my life on, and to have that be the filter when I make decisions. Is this something that I see reflected in Scripture? Is this decision I'm about to make, is there something in Scripture that I can see, or in Jesus' life that he lived out in his example, that I can say, okay, that this confirms the path I'm on? And
Jesus. Cool. Thank you for sharing.
Okay.
So what do you value most?
Showing love and trying to show love in a way that person that I'm trying to show love to, that it will resonate with them.
Loving people how they like to be loved.
Right. How that will mean something to them, instead of just randomly like, someone, for example, say someone, their love language isn't acts of service, and I, shovel their driveway. They're like, cool, but could you come in and talk to me for a minute? And their love language is quality time. So I guess that's the whole 5 love languages: personal touch, acts of service, words of encouragement, gift giving, and quality time. And that was really helpful, and I wish I had known that sooner than I did. I don't know what year it was, but I think that's a really great thing to understand in any relationship, whether you have a significant other, or if you're single, if you have children or not, to know how to speak someone's love language. And my mother-in-law, she has passed on already, but I didn't realize it when I first got married, but she always gave gifts. And once I heard this teaching, I'm like, oh my goodness, her love language is gift giving. That's why she gives so many gifts.
Isn't that crazy when you like know the love languages and then you can like see what they are in other people? Yeah.
And I really, from that moment on, I tried to be much more thoughtful and think through what I gave her for gifts, because that was definitely her language. That's what she liked to speak, and that's what she liked spoken to her. So I think it's something that's so helpful, and if you haven't learned much about it, I think it could really change, be a game changer for all your relationships if you understand it.
Hell yeah. My next question is, what is your love language, or what are your love languages?
I think the way I see myself, I get so excited to help out. I must have some part of acts of service, but I also words of encouragement, which to me they kind of can go together a little bit. You know.
Explain that.
Well, on my list of things is not only the meal for Lori, but a nice little note of encouragement. That's on the list. So they seem to go together.
You're like, how can you do something nice for someone and not write them a sticky note?
Right. She gets it.
How do you manage having a relationship with each of your children?
Part of my day, I guess you would say, is that at some point in my day, whether it's in the morning or sometime once in a 24-hour period, I pray for all my children and my daughter-in-laws, significant others, my grandchildren. And as I'm praying for them, I think about maybe if there's something that week or that day that I might be able to do to just show love or help them out. And
so you pray about it and you take time to think
about it. Yeah, think about what's happening. Yeah, if there's something happening for them that day or that week, and think through what might be something I could do.
Cool. She's so pure. Okay. Was there a part of you that was nervous to be a mom before your first kid?
Interesting enough, no. I was very excited, and I think ignorance is bliss. It was like, cool, we're gonna have a baby. So I don't know. Thinking back, like we weren't around babies much, and we literally had never changed a diaper.
So you weren't nervous at all before your first kid?
No,
okay.
I was excited. We were really, really excited.
How many times throughout your journey of motherhood did you think, wow, I have no idea what I'm doing, if any? What did you do in those moments?
Honey, the first moment home with Eric, we were like, what do we do? I would say there were many times that I felt like, wow, you know.
What did you do in those moments?
Tried to learn whatever it was that I didn't feel like I knew enough. Ask good, trusted friends, like, what do you do in this? You know, having this situation, you know, you're talking, you know, the late 80s and 90s. It's not like the internet was a thing yet. You could just Google, you know, what to do for toilet training or what to do. You know, it was more like you asked your circle of friends, or, you know, you asked your mom, what did she do? And, you know, so it was a little different as far as the vastness of how much information you could get on a topic in a very short amount of time. And obviously, Dad and I would talk ourselves, like, okay, we have this thing. What do we think about this?
Okay, this question is like pretty specific.
Okay.
Is there one characteristic or adjective that applies to all 7 of your children, even though we're all so different? And you can't say like, wonderful, amazing.
I'm not an English major, but I'm thinking resilient.
Cool. I think that's a good one. What was your reaction to becoming a grandma?
Oh, surreal. Like, this is unbelievable. It was like, is this real? Like, you know, I had friends that have already become grandparents, and they would say it's great, and I'm like, I can tell it's going to be great. It's just feeling just so so blessed to be able to be that. I'm called Nana, to be a Nana to these little people. It's like, it's just so so special, and I hope I'll never take it for granted. I feel very fortunate that that's part of what I'm allowed to do in this world, is to be a Nana.
Oh. So that was my next question, was what's it like being a grandmother? You just kind of, is that a different question? What's it like?
Oh my gosh. It's just like, I don't know how to explain it. It's so great. It's just so precious. You can just have that relationship that is just you're always just doing something special. Any interaction, just by the sheer nature of the fact that you are with a grandchild, in my opinion, makes it special. It's like we don't have to like go to the fair. We're just like, making cookies or playing with blocks or Play-Doh. And it's
like you're a celebrity to these kids. You're
Well,
Nana.
Well, they're a celebrity to me. They're my grandbabies. But just to, it's almost like there's not that pressure for me to have to worry about, discipline.
You get all the fun parts.
Yeah, I don't have to make any big decisions. The parent, that's their job. I just get to be like, so what do I get to do with them? Can we go to the pumpkin patch? What are we doing? But just, just seeing our relationship. I mean, my grandchildren are still little. They're 2 or 3, and one's almost 1 and one's 2. So they're still little, but just to see, that they know I love them, and that I love them no matter what. And I'm just excited about that relationship. And as they get older, that we'll be able to eventually talk adult to adult. That'd be cool. Just like it's cool with you kids to talk, and not have it be the parent-child anymore, but to have that happen again with these little guys is pretty cool.
That's definitely something I wish I could have experienced more with my grandparents.
Yeah.
An adult relationship.
With
Grandpa
them, yeah.
was the closest, for sure.
Oh, for sure, yeah.
But, yeah. That'll be exciting.
Yeah.
That'll be exciting. So, if you had to sum up your generation in 5 words or less, what would the words be?
Oh my gosh. Like people born in the 60s, you mean? Like that generation? 5 words? Okay. Like serious or funny? Both. I'm gonna do both. Okay. Could it be like, it has to be just 5 words?
Just whatever you
All right. I'm trying to follow the rules here. Okay. Counterculture. And those counts as 1 word or 2.
That can be 1.
Best music. Groovy.
Groovy.
It's definitely a 60s word. Conflicted and changes, I think, come to mind.
Okay. Why conflicted?
Because I think people were starting, especially with the civil rights movement, being conflicted like what they always thought, and they're realizing, oh, wait a minute, things really aren't what I thought. So I think people started to be like struggling with what they always thought was like the right way to maybe have things. So I feel like our culture started to feel that that conflict of, oh, I always thought things were like okay like this, but now I'm learning, in the whole civil rights movement that was like in like Vietnam, there was a lot of conflict in understanding, were we supposed to be there, were we not supposed to be there. So
where did you find yourself in these conflicts?
I think I was like so young. Like I remember watching the news and
how old watching the news?
Probably 8, 9, 10, I feel like. And they always would say like the current casualties for the Vietnam War. And it felt like it kind of planted the seed in me that like this is a bad thing. And interesting enough, I'm currently reading a book by the person we purchased this home from. His name is Ronald Winter, Masters of the Arts, a memoir of his time at Paris Island in Vietnam. And I feel like I'm going to have a very different understanding of the war because he served very valiantly, won a lot of awards or medals or whatever. So I feel like when I'm done reading this book, I will have another viewpoint than got fed to me from the media, which at that time I didn't realize is so slanted. Yeah.
Wow, that's very interesting. How were the 70s compared to today?
In what way?
Any way that comes up. Society,
yeah,
world.
Yeah, I think in the 70s, we didn't have the cell phone, so I can remember literally sitting in my kitchen waiting for the phone to ring for hopefully my crush to call me. So I think things were slower, you know. Things weren't so fearful. Like I would go for bike rides with my friend Carol. We would go for like 10-mile bike rides with no helmet, with no cell phone. We weren't scared, you know. I feel like there wasn't so much fear. I think people still like watch their kids, but not with the concern now that I think parents, unfortunately, rightfully do need to be more watchful, because there are so many things that have happened, that are happening, that you do have to watch out so much more. Like, you know, like I said, we would just go off. My mom would be like, okay, have a good time. There was, I think, more freedom for young people. They could, you know, walk 2 streets over to meet their friend. And there wasn't, you had more like neighborhoods where people knew each other. You could, you know, go next door. You could go, you know, do things. Again, I didn't grow up in a city, so I'm talking from my experience just growing up in more suburbia. So now I think we're just so much more distracted. I know I get distracted. There's times where, for whatever reason, I don't have my phone or I forgot it. And I find myself being so glad because I feel like I'm always thinking, oh, is there a text? Oh, you know, it's like this little, ooh, ooh. It's like, ooh. And to just try to not have that. You have to work really hard, where in the 70s, there was nothing you had to work at. You just could be present more easily because you weren't, if the TV was on, that was the only thing, or the radio, that could be like noise distracting you or sight distracting. Now it's literally in our hand, a television, a radio. It's right there at the tap of a finger. You can have music playing, you can have a video playing. Before you had to literally walk in the living room and turn it on. Now I think we're just so many things coming at us all the time. So I think we have to really work hard at just toning out all those things, and, you know, be able to have a conversation, to, you know, sit here,
Hi.
talk to Emily, and to just, I think we lose a lot when we're, you know, even just feeling the vibration of the phone in your pocket is still, even if it's on silent, it's still, you know, your brain is like, there's a text, oh, there's another one. I think we have to work really, really hard at just removing that. Sometimes I love looking at my flowers. Often I'll send pictures of flowers to people I know that like looking at pictures of flowers. But sometimes I'll purposely like not go out in the garden with my phone because I don't always have to take pictures of flowers.
But what's the end of that sentence? We have to work really hard at
disconnecting from our devices specifically, so we can really be present and see, especially nature, you know, and to be able to really take it in, than to have this little side thing spinning in our brain. Since we moved here from a busy area, and there's not that constant noise, I feel like my brain has more ability to soak things in. So I feel like, depending on what you are, which I think I may be ADD or something, whatever it is, too distracted to know the definition, that depending on how you process things, for me, I think noise is something that's hard for me to not process and hear. So I feel like our phones, for all of us, are that constant distraction, and we have to really figure out ways to disconnect that so we can be present and to be with people. I'm sure that they're still learning, and there'll probably be a study done, 10 years from now explaining all this, because it's still all new to all of us. But I think we are losing depth of relationships. We're losing what reality is, because we have all these people that look like something on their social media, but it's not real. That's not the whole picture. So all that pressure to keep up, I think especially for young moms that are looking at, Susie and Johnny over here, and their kids look perfect, and that pressure, it's got to be huge. to be able to just say, hey, this is my world. I can learn from that, but I don't need to feel like any less of a person, any less of a student, or whatever, whoever you are, a chef, a waiter, whatever you are, to not compare yourselves.
I think that's some great advice, to be present. I think I totally agree. And it's interesting to hear from someone who actually knows what it's like to grow up without technology. Like you said, you would have to walk to the living room to turn on a distraction. But it's true. We all have it in our back pocket anytime we want. So I think that's very valuable to hear from someone's perspective that knows what it's like to live literally without distraction. And I think that's so interesting that you notice that moving to a more quiet neighborhood, you can literally feel the difference in your own head of what you can absorb in the present moment. So I think that's cool. I'm glad you shared that. Stay present.
Yeah, when I think back as we're talking now, like when I would go to see my good friend Carol, I just went and saw her. I was already present before I stepped in the door because I was already anticipating seeing her. But I feel like now I have to like think to myself, leave the phone in the car, Karla. Just leave it there so you can be present. You know, in the 70s, you didn't have to go through any of that to be present. You were present. You basically walked in the door and you were present. In my opinion,
been present all day.
Yeah, you didn't have this thing. You already were. I think that's a term that's been used a lot. Present. You were present because there wasn't all these things vying for your attention. I mean, obviously, I was just a kid. I had no other responsibilities, so it was like I had to turn my brain off for big responsibilities. But I'm saying as a kid, or even as a young person in college, like if I went down the hall to my friend Marie or Dana's room, I was there. We were hanging out. Like we'd have to everyone turn their phone off. We'd have an hour of no phones. Like none of that. We just
That's so great. I actually saw a couple of my friends recently, and I hadn't seen them in a while, and there was 4 of us, and we were all sitting in a room, and I was the only one not on my phone. And I was just like, this is crazy. Like they were all on their phones, and I'm just like looking around, and I didn't say anything, but I wanted to see if anyone else was going to say anything, and no one said anything. And I was just like, wow, like this is what my generation is doing now. And you know, they would pull up a funny video and they were all like, oh yeah, I saw that. And like I hadn't seen any of this. I try not to be on my phone that much, but they all had seen like all the videos they were pulling up, and I was just like, this is wild. And then after probably we had been there for a while, and we did talk at first, but then it just got to a point where everyone was on their phone.
And not talking.
Well, some memes here and there, whatever, but no real like connection, like you're saying, being present. And I would open my phone, I'm like, I have nothing on here that I want to look at. I'm in a room with people. Right. And so I was just sitting there like petting their dog and like whatever. Aww. And then after probably like 5-10 minutes, we're like, okay, I think we're going to go. And I was just like, what is happening? It was very interesting.
Interesting.
And obviously, like, no diss to these people, but...
Right, that's just that's the nature of it, yeah.
That's just what happened, and it was very interesting. So there's definitely a lot more obstacles to the present moment than there used to be.
Absolutely, yes. Yeah. Yep.
Wow, good shit. What is your favorite and least favorite thing about this generation?
I think my favorite thing is just you guys really want to learn, and you're open to hear not just one side of things. And there's a passion there when you resonate with what you believe. And I think that's great. I think it's great. And I guess kind of what we just said would be what was the other part that I don't like?
Your least favorite. And least favorite.
Is the distractibility, because sometimes I feel like I'm literally talking to someone and they look at their phone and the conversation's over and it's like, really?
You can just see it trail off.
Yeah. So that would probably be my least favorite thing. Yeah.
Yeah, that's fair. Okay. If you had to give this generation advice on relationships, it could be romantic or otherwise.
Sure.
What would the number one piece of wisdom be that you have for this generation? on relationships?
I think honesty is the very, very important part of relationships.
Honesty. Be honest.
Yeah. It's I only had one thing, right?
Yeah.
Okay, that's it. That's all I got.
Number one piece of wisdom.
Be honest. Yeah.
Why?
So much simpler.
Yep.
Yeah.
What are the most valuable lessons you've learned in your 38 years of marriage?
That's right.
38 years of marriage. What is the most valuable lessons you've learned?
Oh my gosh. Valuable lessons I learned. It's a marathon, not a sprint.
What does that mean?
Without going into it, which I don't know how many questions Emily has going, I wasn't sure that I wanted to stay married. It was some really rough times. But I'm really glad that we're still married and we're having a wonderful time in this later part of our married life.
I second that. I'm glad you guys stayed married, and I also didn't want you to at one point. So, yeah, I would agree with that. Not in every case, but...
Correct. Yes, I definitely would want to put that disclaimer out there that
it's not guaranteed to get better, but in your case it did.
Right. And I want to make sure I don't want anyone that happens to watch this to think they have to stay in a very dangerous relationship, whether it's a significant other or married. There are times where it's appropriate to cut off or friendships or whatever.
Or necessary.
Yes. Yeah. I believe marriage vows are very important. Again, if there's if you're not feeling safe and you're not feeling like there's something really bad, get some help, talk to somebody that you trust, and make sure you and if you have children are safe.
It got dark. Are there any other lessons? Any other lessons in your 38 years of marriage?
Keep your sense of humor. Thank you. Wardrobe adjustment.
You're good.
Yeah, keep your sense of humor. Do things together that you like. Don't have so many separate interests, but you still can. Like, I love to garden. My husband really isn't into gardening, but it doesn't mean I can't still garden. But still, have things that you like to do together. Make sure there's still something you enjoy doing together. You can, have your girlfriends. You can have, maybe he likes to golf, though my husband likes to golf. But, but still make sure you have stuff that you do together. Do a hobby together, serve at the soup kitchen together, do volunteer work together. So you can have those shared experiences. And that just, it's fun to be able to chat about. Oh, that was funny when that happened. We were doing this together. Or,
what's the last shared interest thing you and Dad have done?
We just served at our church's 130th year dinner, and we helped serve the food. And it was a blast. It was like, we love doing that kind of stuff.
That simple.
Yeah, I mean, it was great. We loved that kind of stuff. So yeah.
Do you think men and women can be just friends?
Wow. Oh, that's a question.
In your opinion. Again, this section is opinions and advice.
Yes, I think so.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Why do you think so? Does it depend on sexual orientation of either party?
That could be true.
Do you think two straight people, a man and a woman, can be just friends?
I think you would have to, if they were both married to other people, you mean, and they could be friends?
In general.
Just in general, whether they're married or not married.
In general,
yeah.
Can men and women be just friends? Even in cases where they are attracted to the opposite sex?
That's a hard question.
Why?
Because depending on the level of friendship, when you get deeper in level of friendship, it's going to be hard not to feel attracted if that's the, if it's the opposite sex you're attracted to and you're having a deep friendship with someone, that's kind of how you become really an intimate friendship. So I think it might be.
So it depends on how close you get?
Yeah, and it depends too, I guess, if you both know, I'm not attracted to you that way, we can just be friends. I think that's possible. So I guess that's your question. Yeah, I guess that answers your question. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
If you could talk to anyone for 3 hours and ask any questions you wanted with guaranteed answers, dead or alive, who would it be?
Jesus.
I knew it.
I mean,
I literally wrote down, it's gonna be Jesus.
she wins the prize.
It's gonna be Jesus. I mean, Jesus?
I thought about it, and that would be.
Who else were you thinking of?
My younger sister who died in 84.
Aww, yeah, that would be cool.
Yeah. So, but Jesus would have the answers to the questions too, so I just went with
You're like, I'll just ask God.
Yes, basically, yeah.
Who's the funniest person you've ever met?
Oh my gosh, Dad. Hands down. He's hilarious. Right?
You married the funniest person you ever met.
I think I have, yes.
Good job. Good job.
Makes me laugh every day. Yeah, he's pretty
That's awesome.
Oh gosh. Jinx.
Oh my god. Turning into my mother. Oh. Okay. What's your favorite movie quote?
Oh gosh. I don't know if it's an exact quote, but it's from the movie Miracle.
It's a good movie.
It's a good
Miracle on Ice.
Right. That's the full title, I think. Yeah. So
I
it's
think
about
so,
the
yeah.
U.S. hockey team. Anyway.
You didn't peek at the questions, right?
Oh my gosh, no.
I know you wouldn't do that.
Didn't even cross my mind.
All right, I'm sorry. What's the quote?
I think the quote is, and it's probably not exact, but it's when the coach, when he's in like the interview thing, and they're saying basically like you want to win like up against the Russians, who won the last how many years Olympic gold for the hockey, and they're like, it's a pretty lofty goal for her, and he's like, that's why I want to pursue it. That's a great quote.
Yes, that makes sense. I feel like you always got excited. Oh, it's such a good line.
So that's it. Yeah, that's it. That's
Makes
got to
sense.
be it. Yeah.
Is there a quote or Bible verse, because I thought it might be a Bible verse, but is there a quote that you distinctly think of changing your life after hearing or reading it?
The first time that happened for me is when my stepsister Roby shared the gospel with me. And part of that is that when you accept Christ into your life, he promises to never leave you or forsake you. And when I heard that, I was like, what? Seriously? And at that point, my parents had split up. My dad had left and wasn't involved too much. And I had never heard really much about Christ or God that I remember anyway. I think I was really little when my parents still together. They went to a Seventh-day Adventist church. I don't remember thinking I knew anything from then. So this was years later. I was about 13. And when I heard this, it immediately just resonated. And I was like, I want this relationship with this person, Jesus, that's never going to leave me. And it brought me such comfort and I can't imagine life without knowing Jesus as my Lord and Savior.
So that changed your life?
Absolutely.
Did you ever wish you got to teach more before becoming a full-time stay-at-home mom? Because I know you told me recently you thought you were going to be teaching longer than a year, and then you ended up getting pregnant.
I would say no. No.
Ever? You never wished you got to teach more? I know now you probably don't care.
Yeah. Being a teacher is a lot of work. It is. I mean, my that's pretty funny, isn't it? A lot of levels. Being a classroom teacher, should I clarify? Being a classroom teacher. I taught 1 year part-time out of college at a daycare for the afternoon kindergarten program, and I taught 1 year 4th grade at a Christian school. And I can just remember getting up at literally 4:35 in the morning, making sure I had my lesson plans, and just being like, this is a lot. And it was, your first year teaching, everything's new, you're learning. Even if you student taught, maybe it wasn't the same books you're using. It was all very new. So, I would say, I had a wonderful experience. I had a wonderful students. They were just delightful. They were just great. So it was just a great experience teaching, and that was just a short season. So no, to answer your question.
Cool. If you had to pick one, what memory do you have where you were the happiest?
Oh, that's so cute, Emily. Probably ever, always.
Ever, always.
Oh well, obviously every birth of you kids is amazing. So I mean that is
those were some of the happiest moments.
Oh my goodness,
giving
yes,
birth.
Giving birth to you guys, of course. That's
didn't hurt or
doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter. There's actually a chemical or something that is released in your brain that makes you forget the pain so that you'll do it again. I read that somewhere. It made this make a lot more sense.
There's a verse that talks about that.
A verse?
Yeah, after a woman gives birth, she forgets about the pain because the joy of. There's a verse about that.
There's literally there's I read it somewhere, I think. I don't know. Fact check me. I don't give a shit. Anyway, so
I would say, yeah. And I was happy the day I married Dad, But I mean, seeing a newborn child that you literally gave birth to is very amazing, and just you guys all were safe and born and healthy, and it's just a very surreal, amazing. It's hard to really explain. I don't want me to sound
no, you're good. Some things you can't explain.
Yeah,
you have to experience.
Yeah. Just the miracle of life is amazing.
Is there a memory that isn't involving marriage and birth where you were the happiest, or no?
I would say when I was a kid, probably before my parents split up, when we were still a unit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yep.
What's one lesson that took you a very long time to learn?
That holding a grudge doesn't really serve me well, even though it feels like it. Yeah.
Interesting. How did you find that out? Once you stopped holding the grudge? How did you learn that?
I think it took time and layers of healing from things that had happened. And as I was able to get away from the trauma and the hurt, to realize that my grudge is doing nothing to this person. It's not having any effect. They don't even know. It's not serving me to keep this grudge. And just the truth of God's word. There's many verses that talk about forgiveness.
Mm-hmm.
It's in the Lord's Prayer, which a lot of people are familiar with. But I mean, I could read those scriptures and hear even a sermon, but when you can't hear it yet, it takes a while to sink in and to say, okay, I'm going to choose. And it's not always one time, it's an ongoing choosing. I'm going to forgive. And to start feeling how much more alive you are when you're able to, with God's grace, to forgive. And then you realize, oh, okay, This is why God encourages us to do this, because he knows that it's going to bring more life than the false life of grudge living, if that's a word.
Grudged living. The Karla dictionary. Buy yours today. Do you have any regrets?
Yeah, I do. And it's something that different times in my life I've definitely have felt the weight of those and have been just overwhelmed at all the things that I wish I did differently in our family for you kids, and just seeing the damage done in our home and just being overwhelmed by that, and knowing that God has forgiven me and that you kids can also hopefully go down that path to forgive too.
Do you have any advice for other people with regrets?
That God already knows what you've done, and that nothing surprises him, and there's nothing too big or awful that he can't forgive.
What about someone who might not be religious? Become religious?
We're all human. None of us are perfect, in my opinion.
Is it even me?
Well, you're close, but you're... we're all we're in the human race. If we're in the human race, we're all in that condition of being people that do wrong things, and cut yourself some slack and know that you can forgive yourself. It may involve going to someone, asking forgiveness. They may or may not give it, but you can at least do your part. I have never gone through AA, but I have a good friend who has been telling me about the different steps, and it seems like an amazing program, and it helps you work through some of those things that you might be challenged with, and that seems like a great avenue that might be helpful.
If you have regrets, right?
Yeah,
That's what
and
you're saying.
Yeah, I'm sure it's something you could look up online without going to meetings.
The AA steps. If you have regrets, Google AA steps. It might be a good resource for you.
It sounds funny when she says.
If you had to pick a favorite age that you've lived so far, what age was your favorite? Or do you not think you've lived it yet?
Well, I mean, every day is amazing. But I mean, looking back, I feel like ignorance is bliss. And before some things happened in my life, I would say just the carefree, like 8, 9 years old, just when things hadn't happened yet. Yeah.
Damn.
But things are pretty great right now. I just want to clarify that. I'm pretty happy with life right now.
Yeah, I figured.
See what I'm saying?
Yeah. If you could talk to 23-year-old you, what would you say to her?
Whoa, 23. Hang on, girl. Yeah, just keep the faith.
Keep the faith. Hang on, girl.
I'm
That's
just
it?
straight and shoot, girl.
How would you describe our relationship?
It's pretty great right now. We've come a long way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's pretty great. That's how you describe it.
Yeah. It's, I feel like it's pretty transparent. Like, we're pretty, really honest with each other. And
that was your relationship advice?
oh,
Honesty.
yeah. We've worked through a lot of stuff. And I'm very grateful that Emily has given me a chance and is forgiven, and that we can have a more like light-hearted relationship than this intense like stuff. But we had to work through a lot of that stuff to get to this point. It was really worth it.
And now we can be present.
Yeah, and just be us. Yeah.
What, if any, qualities do you have that you also see in me?
We both like to laugh. I think we like to, laugh and just like be able to laugh at ourselves and be able to just have a good time and not get easily offended. Like, we can just be like hang out and not be, worried about upsetting each other or like that. Yeah.
We can take a joke. We like to laugh at ourselves.
Yeah.
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 Do you ever imagine my life in the future? What do you see?
Just more amazing Emily stuff.
More amazing Emily. What is that?
I think I just see you really think through your decisions. And so I just feel very at peace in knowing that you found your way to know how to find your way.
Hmm.
I feel like you'll just give me updates of amazing stuff that you're doing.
What would be the most shocking thing for me to tell you about me or my life choices? Like, what would be the most, like, out of character thing for me to tell you that I was doing?
Lying to me. I can't think of any. Like just not being who you are right now. Like switching to being like not honest or just pretending to be some like not wearing what you want or like just becoming like someone that you really don't want to be. And like all of a sudden saying, oh mom, I'm following this person on Instagram and they say to do this, that's what I'm going to do. Like that wouldn't be you. Yeah, see? There you go. That's confirmed. Yeah, like to me that wouldn't be you. Like you're your own person. You're not just going to follow somebody because 5 people told you they're great. You're going to think through it and make a decision.
Mm-hmm.
So that would be to me shocking if you were like, oh mom, I'm following, this person and they really encourage people to do this, that's what I'm going to do. That wouldn't be something I would feel like you would say.
Why?
Because I don't think that I think you want to make your decisions based on your own train of thought and not just grab a hold of someone else's decision-making process and take it on as yourself.
When have you felt most proud of me?
I think when we got to the point with schooling when you were like, we got to do something here and we found Pat and you not only caught up and went on to college and did great, and I was just proud of you for like saying, okay, this is what's happened, but I'm gonna like
Fighting for my education.
Yep. And I was like really proud of you. I'm still proud of you for that.
Are you so proud of me for that?
I'm really proud of her for that. Sorry, I tend to
You're
get
good.
quiet.
You're good. Have you ever felt disappointed in me?
No. Never
Really?
been disappointed in any of you kids.
Really?
No.
Wow.
I don't think so. I mean, it's a pretty big word. I feel like I could judge that. We went through a time, like I said, way back, where it was the culture of the homeschool niche we were in really was judgmental. So when you say that, I feel like I don't want to do that. I don't want to say I was disappointed because I don't feel like that's who I want to be.
Yeah.
And that's not for me to say.
That's right.
You guys are making your way, and I can't. Who am I to say I'm disappointed? Yeah.
When have you felt most loved by me?
Oh, Emily. Some of the really thoughtful notes you've given me recently, that long one that I have, and the other one. So that's my love language, so yeah. So I think that's probably why that's what comes to mind.
Yeah.
And because that meant a lot, and I can reread them.
Yeah. You're special if you get a note from me.
Special.
What message do you want to give Karla and Emily 10 years from now? How old would you be in 10 years?
Real age or age identify as? Emily, I'll be 70. It's crazy.
You'll be 70?
In 10 years.
I'll be 33.
Wow. Young. So young in 10 years.
So young.
That is so young.
33 though, that's crazy.
Keep laughing and keep having adventures together.
Adventures and laughs. Do you have any questions for me?
Oh, man. What's your favorite thing you learned about me today?
I really liked when we were talking about your generation versus ours. I think that was really cool.
Cool.
Your perspective on staying present and everything, because I'm really passionate about that.
Cool. You could Photoshop
Any other
this.
questions?
What's your biggest dream, Emily?
What's my biggest dream? To reach my full potential.
That sounds awesome.
I think so. Shout out to Brittany. She wants to know, in all caps, would you adopt me?
Oh my goodness, Brittany. I like the sentiment, but I don't think I can adopt you. But in my heart, yes, I can adopt you.
A heart adoption.
Oh,
Okay. The other question.
I haven't seen you. Come visit.
All right. The other question we have is from Emma Duma.
Hey, Emma. Oh my gosh.
If you won $1 million, what would you buy first?
Well, I would first make sure all my kids, if they had some needs, I would help them out. And after that, I would probably help, like, my favorite charity.
So you wouldn't buy something?
I have enough stuff. We have too much stuff. If any of you know us, yeah.
So you can't think of one thing you would buy? You would just help people?
I think so, yeah. I have enough stuff.
Protect her at all costs, everyone. Well, thank you so much for letting me interview you.
I love you.
I love you too.
Well, take care, everybody.
Take care, everybody.
Whoever you all are. God bless you all.
Bye.